I did a video, I think maybe yesterday, on stories of four people's experiences falling in love with like their life's passion. You know, the moment when they discover this thing that they want to do for the rest of their lives. And you know, I had a question. You know, is it possible that you could discover this thing early in life and then forget about it, and then later in life maybe rediscover it? And I was thinking, based on my experience with this happening to me and based on what I read about other people's experiences, I think probably not. Like in my experience last year at age 47, after a couple years of really intense reading, I realized one day, just like this, oh my gosh, I fell in love. I just fell in love with reading and writing. And it was so significant. I knew at that moment, this was August of last year, everything changed for me. Nothing would be the same. It was one of these like BC AD type moments where you're like, time is now marked as like a before this moment and an after this moment. It seems like, certainly for the four people I talked about yesterday, it was the same sort of thing. Like, at least for three of them, it was a really significant moment where they're like, yeah, at this moment, everything changed. And I think, to the question of, is it possible you could have this type of experience or like discover the thing that you want to do early in life and then rediscover it later? And I think probably not, unless you were like maybe 3 or 4 or 5 and you discovered something and then didn't have the intellectual or emotional maturity to really process it. And I think really at the heart of the question, I'll explain it this way. It's like, I think it's not uncommon to be exposed to something. Like if you're going to have the experience of discovering your passion at some point in your life, it's probably not uncommon to be exposed to something similar earlier in your life, but for whatever reason, it didn't resonate with you like so strongly in that moment. I compare it to like, okay, if you're going to strike a match, okay, and if you go really slowly, sliding the match across the strip, it's not going to light, right? You have to go fast enough so that there's enough energy, to create the spark. And I think for whatever reason, it's like, these sparks that happen in life sometimes, it really depends on the circumstance, what it is that's creating the spark, our own, what's going on internally, such that it's like we have to almost be receptive, open and receptive to something like this happening to us. And you can't plan for it. It's like falling in love, like romantically. You can't like decide that you're going to fall in love sometime in the next month or read a book on like, these are the 11 steps you need to take to fall in love. Like, it doesn't work that way. And for all these people, it was almost just like a happenstance, thing. It was like, oh, they met somebody who sparked an interest, or one guy went to an air show and he fell in love with flying at age 9. I really think the way to make yourself open to the possibility of having this type of experience is to simply, like, one, recognize that, or at least acknowledge that it is possible. It's a thing. It does happen to people. I think it's relatively rare, but it does happen. And then it's like, just expose yourself to as many like new ideas and new perspectives and new experiences as, is practical. And always keep in the back of your mind, hey, I am open to having something resonate with me, in this way. But you can't force it. And it's one of these, I think, if you're not quite sure if it happened, it didn't happen, right? I mean, it might be close, but it's like, I think when it happens, when it happens. Like, for instance, I'll tell a quick story only because it illustrates. So I said I fell in love with reading and writing. It was something that like struck me so powerfully last year. But I remember I had 2 experiences in life where like reading, right, the power of reading really struck me, in the moment as, wow, this is pretty amazing. One, in high school, I was reading Stephen King's It, okay? And I was home from school. I don't know if I was sick or I was like faking sick so I could finish a book. I don't know. But I was approaching the end. It's a long book. It's like 1,000 pages. And I was like reading really quickly because, I wanted to get to the end and, see what happens. And the phone rings. And I thought to myself, this is like when I was 16. So like over 30 years ago, right? I thought to myself, I have to put this on pause so I can answer the phone. And it was like, wow. When you think I have to pause this, like, that's pretty powerful. but it didn't really resonate with me. And then in college, I read Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged. It's my favorite book. It's the only book I've read 3 times. And, you know, there was one time when I saw the book. It was, you know, like the small version of the book. It was laying on my bed. And I was like, I actually took a picture of the book, and I was like, wow, it's amazing. This entire world that she created, this, you know, fantastic adventure story and the whole philosophy and stuff is contained in this little thing. And, you know, and then that was like the second moment in my life when I realized how powerful books can be, and, you know, in one form or another. And then that was like when I was whatever, 19 or 20. And then it was another 27 years later before the thing struck, right? And it was like, for whatever reason, right? I don't know why it didn't happen 27 years ago, but it didn't. But like the match, all the you know, all the conditions were just right for this to happen. And, you know, I think it really speaks to, you know, it really comes down to luck. It really comes down to luck, and it doesn't happen too often. Just based on my experience when I was growing up, you know, it's not like people were talking about this all the time. Oh, hey, Dominic, you know, just by the way, you know, hopefully sometime in high school or college or, you know, your 20s, you're going to like, this thing is going to strike and you're going to fall in love with it. It's going to light not just a fire inside, but like an inferno. And it's going to just drive you on. And it's going to be so passionate. You're going to be totally in love with it. You're going to want to pursue it to the best of your ability, blah, blah, blah. Nobody ever talked to me about this. I think it's rare, right? But the reason I tell you this is, one, like, if you find this thing, I mean, talk about unfair advantage. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. But it's like, the reason I tell you, so you can keep in the back of your mind, even if you've never really heard of this and you don't really know what I'm talking about, it's like, if it just plants the seed, like, oh, there's this thing that this guy on YouTube talked about, like, plants a seed in your unconscious mind to help you be open and receptive. So like maybe even just unconsciously, right, your mind is like, okay, as you go through, you know, your days or months or years or whatever, there's this little seed back in the back of your mind. It's like, I'm always going to be on the lookout for this thing because this dude really seemed passionate about it, and it sounds like it's magical, and I hope I find it, and I hope you do. Okay, I don't want to ramble. I've already done enough of that today. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.